Good morning, everyone. Go ahead and stand and sing with us this morning. Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Come to Bethlehem and see Christ, whose birth the angels sing. Come adore on bended knee Christ the Lord, the newborn King. We sing Gloria, we sing Gloria, we sing Gloria, we sing Gloria. In excelsis Deo. Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. We sing Gloria, we sing Gloria, we sing Gloria, we sing Gloria. In excelsis Deo. We sing Gloria. 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 In excelsis Deo.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and heaven and nature sing. We will sing, sing, sing. Yeah. Joy to the world. We will sing, and we will sing, sing, sing. Come on. Hero, joy. Joy to the world, the Savior reigns. Let men their songs employ, while fields and floods, rocks, hills and plains, repeat the sound and joy. Come on, repeat the sound and joy. Repeat, repeat the sound and joy. We will sing, 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 sing joy to the world. Joy to the world. And we will sing, sing, sing. He rules the world, everybody sing. He rules the world with truth and grace. He made Let's greet somebody around us. Say hi to somebody.
In case we haven't met, and I'm going to be your host this morning, and we're just glad to celebrate together. And also, as we celebrate, I know that we also just acknowledge that for a lot of people across the country this morning, there's a lot of loss and devastation that people are facing with the tornadoes that tore through several different states over this weekend. So maybe you're carrying some heaviness in that, or maybe you're just really grateful for what you have and just the acknowledgement that things can change at any moment. But whatever you're carrying with you this morning, we're glad that you're here with us. Maybe you're brand new to us. Maybe this is your first time with us. And so maybe you're carrying a little bit of uncertainty because you haven't connected with us before. But if that's you, we would love for you to fill out a Connect card. There's one of these cards in your seat back pocket in front of you if you're here with us in person, or you can fill out the one online if you're watching online as well, or you can even use the QR code and fill one out on your phone if that's easiest. But we would love to get to know your name and just get you plugged in here at Movement. And another great aspect of filling out one of those cards, if it's your first time, we're going to donate $5 on your behalf to one of our partner organizations, because generosity is just such a part of our heartbeat here at Movement. And one of the partners that we have is the Christian Children's Home of Ohio. And maybe if you've been with us for any time, you've heard about them. We sent a whole team of people down last weekend to celebrate Christmas with the kids there and the staff. And maybe you're here and you filled a stocking for one of those kids, or maybe you wrapped some gifts up for the staff there. But we just want you to know that it was a great time celebrating with them. And some of these kids are kids that have not experienced Christmas in any tangible way before, and you got to be part of giving that to them this year. So we just want you to know that your generosity extends beyond just this place. And so if that's something that you want to be part of this morning, if you want to take a step of generosity, there's also an envelope in front of you in that seat back pocket, or you can use the QR code as well to give online. And either one of those, your Connect card or your giving envelope, there are drop boxes in the back here and in the lobby that you can place those in as you leave. But thanks for giving me some time to connect with you this morning. And I know that it's probably a busy season for a lot of us in this Christmas season. Maybe we've had a lot of events going on already. But if there's one person who might be a little bit busier than the rest of us, it would be Santa Claus. So we're going to take a look at what he's been up to this past week.
Anyway, what's your favorite Christmas tune?
The Garmin song. For the life of me, can't remember it.
The what?
The Garmin jingle, you know? Na 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 na. Is it Silver Bells? Slay the Bells?
Slay the Bells.
Slay the Bells.
That sounds like a headbanger. Man, I love Christmas. So we're at another stop. Really excited to give another gift. Let's see what we have in store. Ho, ho, ho!
Whoa!
Hello!
How's it going?
Really good. How are you doing, Chandler?
Good, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. So I have a question for you. First of all, my name's Santa. This is Johnny the Elf.
How's it going, Chandler?
How are you?
Good.
I've got a question for you. What did you ask for Christmas this year?
More sweaters.
Some more sweaters.
Yep.
Very nice. Well, I have something for you. It's not a sweater.
Okay.
Maybe it is. I don't know. It's not. Okay. This is for you. Please open it. Okay.
Got my cat inside.
Ah, cats.
All right.
Smile box. Must be good, Santa. I think I packed this one myself.
Prime delivery.
Yep. Oh no! I guess that was bad. All right, I guess I got some.
Let's see some of it.
Got some coal in there.
Ah, Chandler. You have something to tell me?
Oh shoot, man. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Well, Chandler, we felt bad for you, so I'm gonna take this coal back. Okay. We actually have something else. Johnny, why don't you give him that?
All right. Oh boy. Huh. I guess this is Christmas story time.
Be careful.
Yeah.
You'll shoot your eye out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's what we have for you.
Cool.
You have anything for me?
Um,
Normally there's like, I don't know, cookies or milk or something.
I could give you a Christmas ornament off my tree.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah?
Yeah. No, that's okay. All right. Well, anyway, maybe next time, just let me know when there's cookies or whatever.
Okay.
All right. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Have a really nice night.
Yeah, you too.
Merry Christmas, Chandler.
Merry Christmas.
Off we go to the next stop, Johnny!
Yo ho ho!
No, that's a different thing. Anyway.
Oh, man. All right. Well, we get the opportunity to follow that. So, hey, it's great to see everyone. And again, welcome. So glad that you're here. I'm excited about today. If we haven't had a chance to meet, my name's Eric, and I'm one of the pastors on staff here. And I've got my good friend Doug with me today, and I'm super pumped about the conversation that we get to have. Doug has been a part of Movement for I'm thinking around 5 years was my best guess, and we've been having some conversation about what we're going to talk about today. Over the course of those 5 years, I've been able to engage in just some different ways of walking through this with you, Doug, and so I'm excited to share with you about really what I believe is one of the greatest gifts that you can exchange this year. We are walking through this series talking about how we're going to exchange something in our life. Maybe culture tells us one thing is important or that we should expect something, and we have an opportunity to exchange that. And I really do believe that what we're talking about today is one of the greatest life-changing things that you'll experience this Christmas if you can rally around it. Hopefully on your seat there was a box. Hopefully you didn't open it yet. I know some of you, you see a box with wrapping paper, you just can't contain yourself. But hopefully you didn't open it. If you don't have one, you're going to want to get one of those because hidden inside 5 of them are $100 bills. So I'm joking.
I see.
Right?
I see. I don't have one.
Yeah, right. No. There are not $100 bills inside of these boxes. In fact, if you open it now, you might be a little disappointed. But as we walk through this morning, I think you're going to find it to be of great value. There's also a half sheet of paper on your seat that if you want to follow along and take some notes. One of the things that we're going to do today our time's going to be very conversational. Doug and I are going to walk you through this conversation. We're going to invite you into it. And hopefully we're going to give you a tool that you can use to just to take some steps spiritually, maybe to take some steps relationally. And so in a little bit we'll get there. But just want to encourage you, if you want to follow along, you can do that. But like I said, I think this is one of the greatest gifts that we're talking about. So let's have some fun with some greatest as we start. So A little participation would be awesome. Would love to know what your favorite is, what the most important or the greatest one of these is. Let's do some Christmas songs. I think that's a good place to start. Yeah. I'm not actually going to put them up on the screen because I felt like the Christmas songs because we put up versions that I'm not sure reflected the heart of in the first service. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna say them, and as I say these, if one appeals to you, go ahead and shout it out. Like, don't wait, don't hesitate. Just show your love for it. Let's start with this one, greatest Christmas song. How about Jingle Bells? Any Jingle Bells people in the house? Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about as matter of fact as you could get. Yep. Yep, Jingle Bells.
How
Great.
about Joy to the World?
Joy to the World. All right, there we go. I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas. Oh, man. I think the same person likes all of these. All right, you only get to pick one. How about We Wish You a Merry Christmas? No one likes that. Good. That's because you've had a 4-year-old at home who has a Christmas musical and they sing that song constantly for like 4 weeks leading up to it. Okay, finally, how about Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer? That's classic. All right, there we go. We have a lot of traditionalists in the house that seem to have the most appeal to the crowd here. Okay, let's move on to Christmas movies. I will throw these up.
That's easy.
Yeah, what?
Die Hard.
Die Hard. There we go. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yeah.
Of course it is. Of course it is. All right, how about this? Christmas Vacation. Any Christmas Vacation people in the house? All right, let's see here. It's a Wonderful Life. Let's go traditional.
That's.
Man, I don't know if I've ever been able to stay awake through that whole movie, but I'm sure it's great. How about, sorry, I just offended a majority of you in here. How about Elf?
There you go. That's good.
Oh man, yeah, those are for the maple syrup loving people in the house today. All right, well let's move on. How about some greatest Christmas gifts maybe that you've received? I'll share one, and I loved your story in the first celebration, so I'll let you share. My greatest Christmas gift that I can ever remember receiving, I was probably 5 or 6. We had opened all the gifts, and we were like, oh, okay, this is a great Christmas. And then my dad wheels out under a black tarp a go-kart, all right, like straight up, like he had built a go-kart and welded it, put it together, and I knew that this was gonna be a game changer for us. It certainly was after a couple trips to the hospital and stuff like that. Yeah. It was great.
Gift that kept on giving, right?
Really did. And then eventually, I think after my brother had run into my mom's car with it and flipped it, then I think we actually ended up giving that gift to someone else. So anyways, how about you, Doug? Share a little bit about your journey in gift giving.
I almost missed out on my greatest gift. I was in junior high school. I was a fourth of 5 kids. I had sisters that were leaving the house. My parents were like making a really big deal of Christmas, knowing that life was changing. And my dad, who was very conservative, very left-brained, Christmas came, he was like Christmas fool.
He loved Christmas.
Yeah, he loved Christmas. And, he saw the end coming, And there were boyfriends and girlfriends, and so we were kind of condensed on when we could have Christmas and big gifts. And I opened up my gift, and all I saw was gas operated, and I was just let down again. I mean, this is like the 3rd or 4th year in a row that it just didn't really measure up for Christmas.
Yeah.
And that says bad things about me, not my parents. But
well, you were sharing like you'd been let down before,
oh,
right?
well, yeah, things broke, things didn't work, and then like one year my dad gave me a cork gun when I wanted a BB gun, and I was like,
so you needed Santa to visit like Chandler's house.
I'm too old for a cork gun. So there I open this box and it says gas operated. Well, that BB gun was a gas operated CO2 BB gun. Uh-huh. So that's what I saw. I kind of scooted it off the side. I was kind of keeping myself busy. And my dad, what I didn't realize was this was the gift. Every year you have the gift that you can't wait for somebody to open. And he had missed it. And so he goes, what do you think? And I said, it's okay. and he's like, okay. And I said, yeah, it's all right. It's a BB gun. He's like, BB gun might, well,
Yeah.
He said, I'll take it back. And I'm kind of like, so I read well, it was a 20 gauge shotgun. It was not a BB gun. It was the thing I didn't even.
Every 11-year-old's dream, right?
Well, it was more like 15,
Okay,
but
all right.
but my dad was a little responsible there. But anyhow, but it just. I just got caught up in something, and thankfully my dad showed grace and allowed me to keep it, and I still have it. I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think about some of the pressures with gift giving and just some of the challenges with that, and things not measuring up to what you think they would, and all the anticipation and all that goes along with that. And it really, like, at the heart of a lot of that is this relationship, right? And that's really what I believe is one of the greatest challenges. We talked about greatest movies or greatest songs or greatest gifts, but I think about our greatest challenges as they relate to the holidays specifically, but honestly throughout the year. And one of our greatest challenges is the messiness of relationships. And I always say, how do we like the people we love? How do we look past faults and flaws and personalities and all of that, and really love people that can be if we're just real, they can be really difficult. And people can be difficult, and believe it or not, you and we can be difficult. This isn't one-sided, and yet, the scriptures say that we're to love people. And how do we love people? In fact, not just love people, but like there's great value placed on love. Doug, you were sharing with me about 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and what Paul writes there. And so I'll just let you share that verse and some thoughts on that.
Yeah, we got to talking about greatest. And I was like, okay, where does that lead? And 1 Corinthians 13 is the love chapter. We're at a lot of weddings, that kind of thing. But at the end, the very end, it says, and now these three remain, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. And so, love's hard to define.
Right.
And yet, it's a good place, 1 Corinthians 13. He talks about what it isn't, talks about what it is. He also talks about how we don't have a full understanding of it. It's we're seeing it's a little dark for us. We get more light, but it isn't until we move on that we're going to see the fullness of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Paul says, faith, hope, love, greatest of these is love. But even before Paul says the greatest of these is love, Jesus shares the power of love and the significance of it. I love in the Gospels and Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Matthew, Mark, and Luke all have this account in some way, shape, or form. But Jesus is being questioned by the religious leaders of the day. Jesus was a Jewish person, in fact, a rabbi, and the religious leaders were these Jewish religious leaders that knew the law, knew God's law from the Old Testament, from the Torah, understood it, and they're trying to trap Jesus and really trying to mess with them and get people to understand that maybe he isn't the teacher or the person that he says he is. And so they're having this conversation. And I love in Mark 12, we read this, it says, one of the teachers of the law came and heard them debating, and noticing that Jesus had given them a good answer, right? He'd already answered one question, right? He asked him, of all the commandments, which is the most important? And so, there's, hundreds of commandments in the scriptures, in the Old Testament scriptures, and they're trying to trap Jesus. And so they come and say, Jesus, what's the greatest commandment? What's the most important one? And Jesus responds to them and says this. He says, the most important one, answered Jesus, is this. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. He says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. And, it's fascinating because Jesus doesn't hesitate. He doesn't try to dodge the question, but rather he gives them an answer for what's the greatest. And he doesn't pull it out of left field. It's not some new revelation. In fact, he's just, repeating what every good Jewish person, and especially every Jewish teacher of the law, would have understood to be true. Anyways, in fact, let's just talk about this. Whoa! Hey,
Let's talk about it.
Sorry, no, Siri doesn't want me to. Holy moly! Oh. This is not the greatest gift. No, I'm sorry. So anyways, so why don't you just share a little bit about the power of what Jesus is talking about here?
He was going to, it's the Shema. And that comes from the first word of hear it and goes on. And the Jewish people were being led out of captivity, out of slavery, 400 years, and going into the promised land. And Moses is trying to get them ready. They're going to be going into a land that has other gods, other thoughts. And he's trying to get them focused in on this isn't for you. I'm for you. I'm the one. And we are to love the Lord with all our heart and all our soul and all our mind. And the interesting thing is in Deuteronomy where we find this, it follows, it says, write this on your hands, put it on your head, put it on your doorpost, do it in the morning, do it in the evening, teach your children. I mean, he's leaving no room for this to be forgotten.
It's the foundation, right?
It's core.
Right.
It's core. And so he's getting them prepared to go from one thing to another, and hopefully that they don't forget what's the most important thing.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating because, I'm guessing for most of us, we're not repeating ourselves. We're not repeating like on the regular throughout the day, man, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. Well, I mean, we're not going there. And yet I think about the impact it probably, it could have, that reminder of, man, God, our God is the God, and we're to love him with everything that we have. In fact, you were sharing with me about your family and how you learned the power of this.
My son has married a Jewish girl, and we got to meet the parents, and I was curious about this. I didn't even know how to pronounce it. I'm like, tell me about the Shema.
The Shema.
It's Shema. And I'm probably
I still don't even say it right. I don't think
I think
the big thing is we just keep rolling with it,
but,
like we know, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
But as they started talking about it, there was a reverence. There was an importance. They were drawn to something very important, and as we even talked about it, and they did it was like, oh, I don't understand. I mean, it's not part of what I do or understand. I mean, I know the verses, but this is the middle,
right,
for them.
Right. Yeah. So what's so cool is you see Jesus interact with religious leaders, like. He's just answered their question in a way that honestly, who could argue with them, right? I mean, it would have been the foundation of their lives, and so they're going, oh yeah, and it would be easy just to stop there, and yet Jesus doesn't stop there. He goes on and he says this. He says the second is this. They didn't ask him for the second, but Jesus goes ahead and gives it to him anyways and says, love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these, right? Not just the one. But really, the two of them together. You say, look, you can love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, strength, mind, but it doesn't stop there. It's love your neighbor as yourself as well. And he says these together, like they're equal and they're great and they're significant. And once again, even though Jesus adds to it, and we look and like, oh man, you just did something new. It's not new. I mean, it's not. In fact, the religious leaders would have understood this as well because of what the book of Leviticus talks about, right?
Yeah, in Leviticus, where this comes out of 19:18, he says, don't seek your own revenge, don't hold a grudge. And he reminds them, that love your neighbors yourself. And then he says, I am the Lord. He's wanting to make sure they understand where authority is.
Right. Yeah, I think about that idea of bearing a grudge. And, I think about the significance, right? Like, I think we all understand at some level, the power that a grudge can have on our life. Like it can, when we're holding a grudge against someone, it can eat at us. And Jesus, says, look, you're to love your neighbors yourself. The Old Testament speaks into this idea of don't bear a grudge, but love your neighbor as yourself. And walk us through just a little bit of, walk us through this.
Yeah.
Sure. So walk us through, you shared this with me one time, and it was eye-opening to me. About your experience with it. You have this paper. If you want to write notes, you can. If you just want to listen, you can.
You got a pen on the back of the chair.
You have a pen. If you want to write and follow along, you can. But walk me through. You at one point you introduced this to a group of people. So
I was teaching a Sunday school class, and I always like to concentrate on one word, so I picked grudge. But if you'd write heart, soul, mind, and strength down that center line. And then in this corner, write grudge. And so what we did is we just slowed it down and said, what does a grudge do to your heart? And if you have a thought right off the bat, you can write it there. You can do it later if you want. What does a grudge do to your soul? What does a grudge do to your mind? I mean, we live that when we have, it just, you don't think about anything else.
Right.
It's just all consuming. What's a grudge do to your strength? We know what it does. Half the time it makes us sick.
Yeah, it sucks the life out of you physically, right?
Yeah, we're not good for other people,
right.
When we start into that. So we know what a grudge is. That kind of is an easy part. But in this box on top, write the word love. And I'm going to give you a definition of love. It's just a definition. It says the love Jesus talks about is purged of all self-interest and is concerned only with the welfare and need of the one to be loved. This love is not limited by either the giver's rights or the receiver's merits. It is not even limited by the attitude of the receiver toward the giver. In this respect, it is like the love of God. So take a minute and think about what love does to your heart. What love does to your soul. What love does to your mind. What love does to your body, your strength. And take a few minutes and fill this out, because really what we have is we have a choice. This column all leads to death and dying. This column is about life.
Yeah.
And when we claim the forgiveness that God offers us, the world says this grudge is a legitimate place to live.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have court systems that are all set up for this thing. But in the system that we have through Christ and his forgiveness, this is a whole nother column. And it's what the world sees. It's what makes us different.
Yeah, I think about that. You use those words, purged of all self-interest, and think about that. And just even as we're talking right now, I was thinking about, just this, what's at the heart of a grudge is truly it's what's been done to, like I deserve, to your point, I'm owed, I was hurt, and really this love column is all about ridding yourself of that. And what's so fascinating about that is I think so often we just simplify, we don't take much time to walk through that about the power. We don't break it down. We'll talk more about that in a minute, as a matter of fact. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to take this, you can take your gift now and go ahead and open that up. And as you're opening that up, I know, Doug, you wanted to share just a few thoughts on Deuteronomy. So.
Yeah. While you're opening that up, one of the interesting things is after the verse in Deuteronomy about love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, it goes on and tells about put it on your hand, your head. It goes through that. And then it says, he brought us out of there to bring us in. And there was slavery and captivity, this nation of Israel, this people. And in was into the promised land, a land of freedom.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of you are laughing because you don't have the $100 bill. Don't worry, I've got it up here. So I think about the power of this gift and what this represents, and it may seem like an empty box with some words on it, but let's talk about this idea of gift exchange this year. And let's talk about what I believe God really wants to do in your life and in your relationships, what God wants to do in my life and my relationship. And that is to move the needle from grudge to love. That is to move in a direction. And hear me out. We're human, right? We're flawed, we're broken, our relationships are messy, and they all are. We have messiness in a lot of our relationships, but my guess is that we have those people that we know right away as we see, man, loving them with my heart and my soul, my strength and my mind is not something that is necessarily comes easy. But Doug, what you just said, this is about moving from grudge to love is like moving from captivity to freedom. And you know what? I was just thinking about this during our time together earlier. The truth of the matter is, maybe we should have filled this with something extremely heavy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because this is really light and freeing, and yet, man, grudges just produce this heaviness that just seems to be all-consuming in our life.
Well, the thing is we can't love God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength as long as we hold a grudge.
Yeah.
It impossible.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's what we want to challenge you to do as we take some steps forward. We want to challenge you to do 4 things with this box, and they really include prayer. And I would just say this is a process, right? If it were as easy as saying, I'm no longer going to hold a grudge and I'm just going to, forget everything, move on. It's a process. It's some soul searching. It's, it really does take us being committed to going on this journey, and it involves movement, not movement in church, but movement in a direction towards taking steps. But we want to really just provide 4 things that we want to, maybe encourage you to do this. First is just pray, who goes in this box? What relationship, who's the person that perhaps there's a grudge that exists? And the thing that always, you just mentioned it, which I thought was, if we hold a grudge against someone else, it's impossible to love God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind. But I'll also say this. For some of us, really God needs to go in this box,
yep.
Right? We're holding a grudge against God. Maybe we're through a series of unfortunate events in our lives. God didn't show up when we thought he should show up. Someone got sick. The job didn't work out. The relationship failed, whatever that may be, and we're holding a grudge. And the truth of the matter is, it's really this cyclical thing, right? We can't love other people if we don't understand God's love in our life, and we can't love God if we don't understand that we can't hold a grudge against other people. But the first thing is just, who goes in that box? The second is this: would you just pray for the ability to love? And I say that because dying, purging yourself of all self-interest is not an easy thing. And, sometimes it's man, God, I need to pray for the ability to love that person, because if it's up to me, if it's my strength, if it's on me, I'm not there. Doug, talk about the next thing, though. I think this is really, really significant.
I think we need to slow the process down. A lot of times we just say words, we go on, there's no change. And when I'm going to relate it back to trying to teach my kids math, and that there's a certain level where they were going beyond me. And
grade, right?
and I could fake them out by a little tactic. And what I do is I say, okay, what I want you to do is you have to actually say the problem out loud, because it's going to slow your brain down. So the challenge here is, whoever you're praying for, pray for that person by name. Pray for their heart. Pray for their soul. Pray for their mind. Pray for their strength. And in doing that, you're going to see them as more than what that grudge is. They are more than what that is. I'm not saying it's right, whatever that is that brought on, but pray for that person. And then we go on by actually wanting what it's God's best for that person.
Yeah, and I mean, and then pray for your heart and
Yeah.
yours. You know, I mean, like,
Yes.
I think about this, man. If you didn't get a chance to listen to Ellen's teaching last week on this idea of busy and hurry, like, man, I feel like so often we try to microwave so many processes, right? Like, if something doesn't happen, you know, in the moment, we've just been like, okay, we're done. And I think there's power in really slowing down and being intentional and praying over someone's heart and their soul and praying through that. And then in doing that, the last thing is this, that you would just pray for God's best for that person. And, you know, if moving from grudge to love is like moving from captivity into freedom, what I've discovered is praying for God's best in someone else's life who maybe you've held a grudge over is perhaps the most freeing thing that you'll ever relationally do. And when we begin to pray for God's best in someone else's life, when we really begin to pray for that person in that way and genuinely like say, man, God, I pray for God's best, it is a game changer in your life. I think that's why Jesus says, look, it's easy to love those people that love you back, but I'm telling you to love those people that love and pray for those people that persecute you, right? That cause you grief, that cause you that lack forgiveness, that lack all that stuff. And I would just say, when you pray for God's best for people, even the people that have been most difficult in your life, you get to celebrate with them as you see God move in their life. And there's just something freeing about it. There's something that is a game changer.
Yeah, well, God's best is for that person to really understand how much he loves them.
Absolutely.
And our part in that is a choice. You know, if we're praying for God's very best for somebody, that means we need to be our very best for that person as well, not to be a roadblock to his love for them.
Yeah, and if we're praying God's best for people, that means we understand at some level God's love and his grace in our lives. And so, yeah, so here's what we often, maybe you've heard this before at Christmas, we hear these words that Christmas, when it comes to Christmas, that Jesus is God's greatest gift to us. You know, we open all these other gifts, we have all these different things that, you know, Christmas points to, but at the end of the day, Christmas is about God's greatest gift to us, and that's Jesus. And as I was thinking about that, and we were talking through this a couple Saturdays ago, what stood out to me so much about that is, like, what does that mean for us? Like, why is that so important? And there are two passages that God just spoke into my life. The first one is just 1 John 3:16 says this is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for brothers and sisters. And why is Jesus God's greatest gift to us at Christmas? He really helps us to understand what love is, right? Maybe you've heard before, like, hey, if you can go through life and you don't have, you know, like, what's life if you go through and you don't experience love? Well, the reality is the way that we know what true love is, this purging ourselves of purging ourselves of like self-interest. It's through Jesus. And the second one is this, and I love this. I just want to close here. Romans 5, Paul says, but God demonstrates his own love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Now, here's why that matters so much. This person that you're going to place in this box and say, I'm going to pray for them. I'm going to pray God's best for them. I'm going to pray for their heart and their soul and their mind and their strength. Here's what I think so often it keeps us from doing that is we're waiting for them to change, right? Like, we're waiting for them to come and say, hey, you know, I mishandled this, or I treated you poorly here. Or maybe we're not even waiting. Maybe we're just waiting for them for their life to look different, or for things to look better. And yet, the message of the gospel, like what we hear Paul saying here is, hey, look, before we ever sought forgiveness, before we ever cleaned our lives up, before we said we were sorry, before we did anything, God demonstrated his love for us, that Jesus died for us, even in the midst of our brokenness. And here's what I think as we put that name in the box, as we go through this process of going, God, how do I exchange grudge for a love? It's going to start with understanding this. It's not waiting for someone else to change.
Or waiting for feelings to change.
it's saying, I'm going to love
Yep.
in the midst of that. So let me pray over us today as we seek through this. God, this is a challenge. This is a heavy topic because we've all been hurt. We've all experienced, just struggle in our life. We've all experienced holding on to a grudge. And God, my prayer is really, God, just for today, that we would take a step, that we would move the needle towards experiencing this freedom that's found in love, experiencing the freedom that's found in really just being a person that rids ourselves of our own, self-interest and motivation and just seeks to love. And so, God, my prayer is today that we would take a step. God, my prayers today for the person in here that's maybe just never experienced your love, never really fully comprehended just how much you love us. God, that they would be reminded of the words that while we were sinners, while we were lost and broken, while we were lonely, while we were incapable of loving back, you sent Jesus to die for us, to express love in the greatest form. And so, God, my prayer is today that maybe today's a day we step into that. But God, I pray that this time would not fall on a heart of hardness, but that we would just be open, God, open to what you want to speak into our lives, open in exchanging something that brings about captivity and exchanging it for something that brings freedom. And so, God, would you lead us in that? And God, we pray all of this in the name of Jesus. Amen. Well, hey, right now the band's gonna lead us in a song, and I just want to encourage you during this time. You can just reflect on the words that speak into this idea. You can maybe hold on to that box and think about, God, who is it that I need to place in here, that I need to exchange a grudge for love? You can hold on to that and just take this time to really reflect on what God may want to say to you.
Deepest seas and furthest horizons can't even begin to speak of your kindness. While I ran so far in rebellion, so you gave your life without question. Before I even said I'm sorry, you made a way for me. And how deep is your love? How high is the one who forgives and forgets all our sin? And how big is your grace? I'll never forget all you've done. Oh, how deep is your love? Oh, how deep is your love? The darkest of days, the bright out of focus. No valley outdives your depth of devotion. You lay me down in green pastures, so I'll rest beside your still waters. I've never known a grace so thoughtful. Deep is your love? let's stand together and sing. Well, here's the truth of the matter. We can talk about these things and we can worship, but until we come to a place of surrender to God, none of this truly comes to fruition. So as we sing this song, this time of reflection, hopefully you can come to a place where you give a little bit of that control back to Him. So let's sing. It's your heart we're searching for. We want you and nothing more. Let your glory fill this place. We're alive in your praises. It needs your heart we're searching for. We want you and nothing more. Let your glory fill this place. We're alive in your praises. We surrender all to you. Do what you want to, do what you want to. God, we love to see you move. Do what you want to, do what you want to. We are standing, and we are standing in your light. And our hearts are open wide. Let us see more than before. Well, come have your way here. We surrender all to you. Do what you want to, do what you want to. God, we love to see you move. Do what you want to, do what you want to. So we sing this next part. It says, all consuming fire fall on us. And we see in the book of Acts this happens. The Holy Spirit comes upon the disciples and they're sent out to preach the gospel amongst all the nations, that Jesus is the greatest gift that God had ever given. His life for us and all that comes with that gift. And so when we sing this out, I want us to think about that word all our strength, all our mind, all of us, God, we surrender it all. Would you bring your Holy Spirit into this place? And all consuming fire fall on us. 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 And we surrender all to you. Do what you want to, do what you want to. God, we love to see you move. Do what you want to, do what you want to. We surrender all to you. Do what you want to, do what you want to. God, we love to see you move. Do what you want to, do what you want to. Do what you want to, God.
So much for being with us this morning, and I'm really grateful for that invitation that Doug and Eric gave us, just to move that needle toward love. And that's the thing that we invite all of you into today. And we want to invite you into one other thing. A couple weeks from now, actually a little less than a couple weeks from now, is Christmas Eve. And so we have some invite cards that are on your seats. Grab those, take them with you. Pray about who to be inviting. We would love for you to invite friends and family and neighbors just to experience the love that Jesus has for them. So be thinking about who to invite. And also, I'll be out in the Next Steps area in the lobby after this. I would love to talk with you. I'd love to meet you if you're new here. I'd love to pray with you over who that is that you need to express forgiveness to as you leave this place. But don't forget to stop by if you're new too. We have a gift for you. But as we think about the ways that we get to move that needle toward love, God calls us to go and be the church.
We surrender all to you.